Okay,
Thank
there
you.
we go. Okay.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. It's Vicki Nye. Can you hear me, Daryl?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you, Vicki.
Okay, great. As Rachel mentioned, these are just housekeeping corrections. All the changes that were made of insertion of language for the online cat competition that CFA judges could judge for any association, and that CFA clubs could hire anyone, guest judge, comedian, whatever. The line 3 of the virtual cat competition guidelines was still standing, which said CFA approved judges are required. And so I have taken and stricken that section, and also anywhere that referred to the word show, I have changed all those to online cat competition. So virtual cat competition. So that is, those are the changes that are made here. Just housekeeping. Should have probably looked at this 3 or 4 more times before it came to the board last time.
Okay, we need a motion to approve those changes.
I'd
Rachel?
like to move that we adopt the action item to adopt housekeeping changes to the CFA virtual cat competition guidelines as presented.
Okay, thank you very much. I need a
Steve second. Steve.
Thank you, Steve McCullough, for seconding the motion. Is there any discussion? Rachel or Vicki, would you like to add any more to this?
No, just a housekeeping rule. Thank you.
Okay. Any other board members have any debate on this issue? Okay, hearing no debate. Is there any objection to the ratification of this action item? Okay, hearing no objection, the action item is ratified. Thank you very much, Vicki, and we'll see you in the executive session. I think that's all for you today, right here, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, all right, we'll see you in the executive session a little later tonight, okay? Item number 4 on our order of the day is a Millennial Outreach Top Cat Challenge. Rachel, that's also you.
That is me. If we could scroll down past the end of the judging program report. You see there's also a very nice report on the China Associate Judge Program, and a statement that we'll be talking about in executive session. There's our Millennial Outreach Committee. Is Lorna on the call?
Let's see. Oh, yes, she is. Okay, I just promoted her to panelist.
Good.
Okay.
Welcome,
And
Lorna.
I'll turn it over to Lorna for our action items. She can expound on that a little bit, but I would like to move that we adopt the Citcc program guidelines.
Carol seconds.
Okay, Rachel has made the motion and Carol Krasnowski has seconded. So let's hear from Lorna, her proposal.
Okay, thanks so much. There's a couple of action items that I need from the board just to go ahead and get moving with this. The first would be to repoll CFA judges to determine interest in judging a regional qualifying virtual event and the CFA Top Cat Challenge.
Okay.
The second is to review a sample P&L report that our treasurer, Kathy Calhoun, has mocked up for us. In the initial proposal that you approved at the previous meeting, it cited that CFA would pay for all of the judging fees. And upon further discussion with Rich Maston, Kathy Calhoun, and Rachel Inger, we have opted to change that. And only if the show were to not gross $1,500 would CFA cover the expenses of the judges' fees.
Ellen, can you scroll up so we can see the rest of the report? And I don't know if I'm not seeing the left side. of it. So is there a way you can move that report over a little bit? There,
Like
perfect.
that?
Well, yeah, go back a
Is
little
that
bit. That's
there?
there. That's it right there. That's good. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, so your second item is with the budget. Is that correct?
Yes, so the judging fees were previously approved by the board, but we edited um, the motion to change that so that if the show doesn't make money, then CFA will cover, but otherwise the regions or areas will be responsible for those fees.
Okay. All right.
And the third item is guaranteeing awards for the top 3 highest scoring cats in each confirmation classes at the CFA International Top Cat Challenge, with Best Cat, Kitten, Premier, and Household Pet getting $100 each. Second is $50 each. Third is $25 each. And there are 2 separate shows, the photo competition and then the video competition. And then the fourth action item is to approve a social media budget for advertising of $1,000.
Okay. The award money here, you say photo and video. Is it $100 for the photo and $100 for the video?
Correct.
Or
Per
okay.
per class.
Per class. Okay.
Yeah.
Per class per show.
Correct.
All right.
And then the only other slight concern that we have is that this is we may have to change the time frame of this because it's just taken a little bit more time than we expected to get this off the ground, and it could be that we are not able to start the challenge until like the actual first show until September 19th and 20th to
Okay.
give the first regions the 2 weeks to have people under their cats.
Okay. All right. So of these 4 action items you have here, polling the judges is not one of them. So you have actually 5 action items. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Okay.
And technically there's 6 because I set an updated CFA International Top Cat Challenge Program guideline document.
Okay. So that would be item number 5, and that's the Top Cat Challenge document.
Well, that's the motion that we have on the floor right now.
That one?
Yes.
Okay, well then let's open the floor for debate on that one, and then we'll do the other 5. Okay, Rachel, do you want to make a comment?
Kathy and Pam have their hands up.
Okay, Kathy Calhoun, go ahead, please.
So I just wanted to speak a little bit to the P&L that was put together. There was one put together for the regional virtual qualifying events. And really, I think conservatively, if we estimate that a show gets 500 entries at $10 a piece, that's $5,000. And with their expenses, which would be judging fees, awards, prizes, some postage if they have to mail out some of these awards, and we put in another $250. We made a little bit of adjustment to what's probably in File Vista, but it did show that really, with the judges' fees included in the expenses, that shows should conservatively make profit, and that would be income less expenses. They should net somewhere in the area of $1,700.
Okay.
So there really should be no reason why CFA would have to pay for judges. With the estimates that I've made. So I'm not sure if I just want folks to understand that. I don't think that is actually going to be an issue given, you know, if the regions put the effort behind getting the news out, that we should not, CFA should not have to pay for judges.
Okay. Pam Delbar, you're recognized.
Thank you. I have some rather deep concerns about the program. If I'm going to get this off the ground for this year, I need guidelines immediately, because whoever does the show for the region is looking at this in a different language. I also want to know, how is the platform working that we're going to be using? I thought NEMO was the club that was going to be testing this. They're still taking entries. And I understand that they've had some issues that they haven't gotten a lot of help with. So I'm, you know, just the basics, the technical portion of actually getting this off the ground is where my concern is, not particularly on who gets what, though we're not dealing with dollars over here. And I know that Hayata-san is not dealing with dollars over in Japan, but these are my concerns, is the actual foundation and how we are going to get this off the ground in the time frame we've been given.
Okay, Rachel Anger, you're recognized.
Sorry, none of these comments have to do with the motion that's on the floor. But I did want to comment that we were talking about CFA paying the judges' fees, and if the region doesn't make a certain amount of income. The original proposal had CFA paying all of it. So this is a change there. But if we can go back to the motion, which isn't even on the screen, if we can scroll up to the top, where we're talking about, there it is, approve the modified program guidelines.
Okay. And those are listed down lower in the report, is that correct?
Exactly.
Okay, Ellen, can you scroll down to where those are, because we need to see those. Now, I think this was all pre-noticed, so everybody should have had an opportunity to read through these guidelines.
And these are the changes that have been made since the last teleconference. Many of these things were in the to be determined category. So we filled, Lorna has filled in some of those blanks here.
Okay. So Pam, does that answer some of your questions here? This is pretty laid out, pretty detailed.
I don't have a problem with these guidelines as written. My problem is how to execute these guidelines.
Okay, well then can you take that offline and deal with Lorna on how to execute those things?
Well, my vote sort of depends on it.
Okay, all right. So Kathy Calhoun, you're recognized. Your second time, please.
Kathy, you're on mute.
Yeah, my hand was up before we got to the motion that we are now, and I wouldn't have been able to support this if we hadn't made the change that CFA would be paying for the judges. And I would have to, I do think that we are very, very close in on being able to execute all of these things. And I'm not sure if we can do it to the professional degree that we want to be able to do it, or should we really consider pushing this back a bit?
Okay, Pam Mosier, you're recognized.
Thank you. I just want to remind you that I asked the question when this was brought up, that this, do we have to do this? And the answer was no. The region does not have to do it if they don't want to. So I just want that maybe would, you know, say something for Pam Delabar, because she, you know, says that she doesn't know she can do it. Well, my understanding is this is optional.
Okay. Lorna, you have any comments you would like to add before we vote on this?
Well, as Rachel said, the first discussion point that we're about to vote on is to approve the modified program guidelines. I have been working pretty extensively with Des and my team to ensure that the platform is ready. I've not seen any of the issues that Pam's talking about. I've had people, ask me directly for help with uploading videos or photos, and it doesn't seem to be a technical issue with the uploads, but more of a end user error.
Okay, all right. Rich Maston, you're recognized.
Yeah, assuming Pam Mosier is correct that this is optional to the regions, I didn't hear otherwise. I do want to bring your attention to number 3 on the guidelines and ask Lorna and her committee, are they committed to number 3 in that it says the entry must have made a final at any of the RQVEs. So I did the math on this. If my numbers are correct, there could potentially be a total of 60 unique cats making a final at each of these 11 events, assuming all 11 events happen at the regional ID level. That's a total of 660. I can't imagine they're all going to be unique. But if we have regions that have the option not to do this, let's say half of them decide not to do this, and we only have 6, now we only have 360 possible unique cats that could qualify to enter the international part of this. Do you put in a clause if we do not have X number, let's say 500 unique that are eligible, to open it up to all that attended the regional? It's just a question for Lauren and her group on the finance portion of it if we do not get all 11 regions and areas attending or participating.
Go ahead, Lorna, you're recognized.
Thank you. If you read number 1 on the virtual Top Cat Challenge guidelines, it says each CFA region may hold a virtual qualifying exhibition. And if you fast forward to the end of the statement, it says the regional director may designate a club or clubs, including out-of-region clubs, to conduct the region show and may share some or all of the proceeds with the club. If the regional director wants to designate a club to hold the show, preference should be given to in-region clubs, and only if none want to hold the show should the regional director turn to an out-of-region club. It does not specifically state that this is an optional for the regions.
Okay, Melanie Morgan, you're recognized.
Yes, going back to what Rich was saying, when we're talking about cats that qualify for the main show, this is somewhat similar to what we used to look at with our regional invitationals for the international show, which moved to if you were entered in the show, you were eligible. And I don't see why we would be putting something out there that would limit the potential for our main event by requiring that they have to have finaled. Because by definition, as Rich said, we're already limiting the main number, but there's probably going to be a decent amount of duplication. So we could have a very kind of anticlimactic, main CFA event at the end of all of this. I can't support these guidelines with that kind of limitation.
Okay, Lorna, you're recognized.
The qualification portion is for the photo competition, which is for kittens, cats, championship, and household pets. There will also be multiple fun categories that require no qualification, as well as the video portion, which requires no qualification.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, no one wants to make any amendments to the proposal? Pam Delabar, you're recognized.
Yes, in the way I'm reading this, the regions don't have the ability to opt out. You're either all in on this thing, you're all out. Yet I don't see a whole lot of guidance for the regions except the time frame of when to host this competition. I think we're trying to push too much too soon.
Okay, Rich Maston, you're recognized.
Yeah, I need clarification again on from Lorna on what she said about whether or not the regions can opt out or not. I thought she said they couldn't, but in the language in the first paragraph it says region may hold a regional qualifier. So I just need clarification on that.
Yeah. Scroll back up, Aline, to number 1, please.
There.
Shelley Perkins, you're recognized.
You know, I just wanted to point out that the way that this is written, when you use the word may, that's not a requirement. That's a 100% optional language. If you use the word shall, then they are required to do something. So when you have language like this, says they can do it. They aren't required to do it. They may do it at their election. That's the way I would always read the word may, is that it's 100% optional.
Great, thank you, Shelley, for your input. Is there any further to see? Kenny Curley, you're recognized.
Yeah, we just, my region, and I know Pam's region, we both, I can't say recently, but hasn't been too far in the past, just had our own regional shows. Granted, would not qualify because we had cats from outside of our region participate as well. But you know, it's a lot of work, and I know they'll have the platform and what have you, and I'd certainly like to participate. But seeing the word may in there does cover, in my mind, the opportunity to opt out. So I don't see a reason to change that.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have any? Okay, Lorna, you're recognized.
If Region 9 and 7 would like to have their cats counted from their previously hosted shows, that is something I would entertain.
Okay, Pam Delabar, you're recognized for the 3rd time. This is the last.
Far be it from me to hold up the meeting. I'll take my hand down.
No, you, okay. Rich Maston, you're recognized.
Yeah, so I just want to say I am in favor of doing this. However, I'm not in favor of approving it as written because of number 3. I'm not confident that the photo portion is going to generate the large number that we're looking to get in order to allow a large group of people to participate. So I'm just throwing that out there to Lorna and her team. I will most likely vote against this unless somebody can say otherwise. I need to change my vote, all because of the way it's stated, may define.
Rich, make an amendment. Make the number 3 say what you want it to say.
Well, all I would want it to say is that they participate in one of the regional qualifiers. They don't have to make a final in a qualifier, just participate.
Then change the wording there to say they only have to participate in the RQVE to qualify for competition in the CITCC.
Okay, that would be my motion.
I'll second.
Or my amendment.
Okay, so Rich has made it. Okay, and Melanie Morgan has seconded the motion, and that is so Rachel, can you're the wordsmith. Can you wordsmith that motion so it's correct?
Sure. Do you want me to do it now, or are you talking about it?
I want you to do it now so we can vote on it. So we can vote on the amendment.
I believe what Rich wants it to say is to qualify to enter the CITCC, an entry must have entered a RQVE in the confirmation class.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very
That
much.
is correct. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so we have an amendment. Carol Kasnowski, you're recognized.
Yes, I do have a question. Why must they enter the show in the photo confirmation class in order to go to the CITCC, but they don't have to enter the video? I'm not understanding why there's a different qualification for the video than there is for the photo competition.
Okay, Lorna Fremont, would you like to answer that?
Certainly. When we initially started these conversations back in May, there was a pretty overwhelming push to only have it be video because that was thought of being a more pure form of competition of cats that are actually missing shows right now. So it was seen that anybody could enter the video because we were trying to recognize cats that should be out showing right now but are not able to because of the pandemic.
Okay. Carol, does that satisfy your question?
Not really sure, no.
Okay.
No.
All right, so we have let's see, George Eigenhauser, you're recognized.
Had to unmute there. Yeah, I agree with Carol. If we're going to make up, I see it as one of two pure forms. Either we should say these are qualifiers and you have to accomplish something to qualify, or we should say all you have to do is enter the qualifier to enter the main show. And if all you have to do is enter, it shouldn't matter whether you're in the photo or in the video portion of the contest. The point is accomplished either way. They're entering the qualifier. And if that's the purpose of doing it, it shouldn't make any difference which one it is. It should be either of them.
So would you like to make a secondary moment to put /video behind in between photo competition?
Sure.
Okay, so I need a second.
Melanie seconds.
Okay, Melanie Morgan has seconded a secondary amendment to insert /video between photo and competition. Is there any discussion on that amendment? Okay, is there any objection to that amendment? Rachel Anger, you're recognized.
Thank you. So if we're going to go down that path, why don't we just open it to all categories? An entry must have entered an RQVE in any class.
Okay. George, comments? Sure, it's your Melanie's motion.
I'll accept that amendment.
Okay. Melanie? Well, Rachel seconded it because she made the motion. So, okay. All right. So, so any competitive category, if they've entered it, then they can compete at the CITCC. That's what we're voting on. All right. Is there any further debate? No. Is there any objection to the secondary amendment? Okay, hearing no objection, the secondary amendment is approved. So now we're going back to the amended, the first amendment. And that's the one that Rich made. Okay, so we've changed the wording. Is there any further discussion on that? I think we beat that one pretty good. So Pam Delabar, you're recognized.
Sorry, take it down for now. I forgot that this secondary one was still on the.
No,
books.
secondary one's already passed. We're to the primary one now. The primary amendment is the one that Rich made about now his amendment will say that any competitive category, if you enter any RQVE in any competitive category, you are now eligible to enter the CITCC. Sharon Roy, you're recognized.
Oh, here, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Pam.
No, Vicky brought to my attention that if we pass that, then paragraph 4 is out of order.
Okay, well we can delete that. Okay, after we pass this motion. If we pass
Got it.
this motion, then we can delete that, okay? Steve McCauley, you're recognized.
If we accept that, paragraph 24 will be out of order.
Okay, so just keeping, it's 4 and 24.
Correct.
Okay, Rich Maston, you're recognized.
I lowered my hand. I was going to say the same thing that somebody said earlier about item number 4 needed to be changed.
Okay, all right. So let's vote on the amendment. All those, is there any objection to the amendment? No, hearing no objection, the amendment is passed. Now we have to approve the main motion, which is all these amendments that we've made to number 3. So I think we've had enough discussion on it. So I'm going to call for the vote on that. And is there any further debate on approving number 3? Go back down, Eileen, to where we're at right there. Okay. So let's vote on the main motion. Is there any objection to the amendments and the new main motion, the amended motion that's been stated? So hearing no objection, that is approved. So now we need to delete number 4. And I will give Lorna the opportunity to comment on that.
Could we please change it? So
yeah,
could we
okay.
change it so that it says to enter the CITCC video competition, comma, the requirements for this competition are 30 seconds or under?
Okay.
Because that is important.
Oh, you're limiting the time frame.
Correct.
Okay. Who called it out of motion? The motion out of this. Who called number 4 out of order?
I think it was Vicky.
I brought that up, Daryl.
You did. Okay. All right. You understand now that the video has to be limited to 30 seconds. It's a time frame issue. It has nothing actually to do with how to qualify for the CITCC.
Got it.
Okay. All right. So number 4 is okay. Carol Kresnowski, you're recognized.
Should the video be limited to 30 seconds for both the regional one and the CITCC, or is it allowed to be longer for the regional one?
It's about space on the server. So it's really important that it's 30 seconds or under for any competition.
Okay. Do you want to see the wording changed, Carol?
Yes, I think it should be. I think it should
Okay.
say just a general, all video competitions shall be limited to 30 seconds. Plain and simple.
Okay, how about the requirements for all competitions are limited to 30 seconds or under?
That's
All video competitions.
Huh?
All video competitions.
Okay. Okay. Are you making the motion, Rachel?
I am making that motion.
George will second.
Okay, George Eigenhauser seconds. Is there any discussion? Okay, I don't see anybody's hands up. So is there any objection to that amendment to that number 4? Hearing no objections, we will change that. Rachel will make the notations. So Eileen, can you go down to 24 now and we'll go over that number? Okay, thank you.
I'm not sure what the issue is with 24.
That's Steve McCullough. So Steve, can you address this issue?
Yes, it should just say the CITCC entry fee will be $10, period. All that other is irrelevant.
Okay, so you want to strike out for either the photo or video because either way they enter, they have to pay $10.
Correct.
Okay, you're okay with the last sentence in the item 24.
Correct.
Okay, so you want to make that as a motion to strike out for either the photo or video.
Yes, sir. I'll make that motion.
Okay, George Eigenhauser, you want to second that?
I'll wait for a second. I have a comment.
Okay,
Pam will second.
Pam Mosier seconds. Okay, George, you're recognized.
I think changing it makes it less clear. It currently says it's $10 for either. If you take out the word either, then that could imply that it's $10 for both. And that's not what we're trying to do. The word either has a very specific meaning. It means one or the other.
Okay.
If we take out that modifier, then we don't know if it means either or both. So it becomes less clear.
Okay. Rich Maston, you're recognized.
So then should it be for any competition, the $10 or whatever they're going to call them? Because I understand they're going to also have fun competitions in addition to the video and the photo.
Correct.
Okay, Lorna, you're recognized.
The fun competitions may be different than the regular competitions because they only have one judge. It's not really fair to charge them $10 for one judging.
Okay, you're saying that the fee to enter one of the fun competitions may be less than $10?
Correct, because it's only one judging, not 6 or 8.
Okay. Is that somewhere in the protocol here?
No, because they're not official classes. They're not required.
Okay.
And they have not yet been defined for the CFA International Top Cat Challenge.
Okay, Rich Maston, you're recognized.
Okay, then I agree with George's statement that by having for either the photo or video, it makes it more clear.
Okay. Okay. And any other discussion? All right, so we obviously have two different opinions here, so I'm going to call for the vote. So everybody that's in favor of deleting for either the photo or the video, please indicate by click the raise hand button. It's the bottom of your participant screen. No, Matt, you can't vote, sorry. Okay, so the yes votes are Kenny Curley, Steve McCullough, Brian Mosier, Kathy Calhoun, Cindy Byrd, Pam Mosier, Kathy Dunham, Howard Webster. Okay, and let's see if I can't lower your hands. So everybody needs to lower their hands. Thank you. All the no votes, please raise your hand. Oyata-san.
Hear me? I can't use the hand up.
Oh, okay. All right. Is your vote yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. So that's 9 yes and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 no. So the no votes are Melanie Morgan, Rachel Anger, Carol Krasnowski, George Eigenhauser, Rich Maston, Sharon Roy, John Kalila, and Pam Delabar. Okay, and Hayata was yes. So the motion passes. The vote is 9 yes and 8 no.
It's Rachel. I did not get a vote for Cindy.
Hers was yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and everybody can lower their hands. Thank you. Okay, so is that the conclusion of the guidelines?
We need to go back to the main motion.
Yeah,
The very
and
first
yeah.
one in the report to approve the modified CFA International Top Cat Challenge Program guidelines.
That's
as
correct. Yeah. And was it Kathy Calhoun that was the seconder on that?
I was a second, Carol was.
Oh, Carol, I'm sorry. Thank you, Carol. Okay, so we've modified the program guidelines. We've debated the guidelines. And so we're going to go ahead and call the question. Is there any objection to the modified guidelines? If you object to the modified guidelines, please say so now and I'll call a vote.
I object.
Okay.
Delabar.
Okay, Pam Delabar objects. So I need to hear everybody that's in favor of the amended program guidelines, please raise your hand. Okay, so the yes votes are Howard Webster, Cindy Bird, Carol Krasnowski, Rich Maston, Kenny Curley, Rachel Langer, Melanie Morgan, Kathy Dunham, Brian Mosier, Pam Mosier, George Eigenhauser, Kathy Calhoun, Sharon Roy, John Kalila, and Steve McCullough. So if you guys will all lower, Hayata?
Hayata-san, yes.
Okay, and Hayata-san is a yes. Okay, if everybody will lower their hands, I'll call for the no votes. So I have Pam Delabar and John Kalila. Were you? Your hand was up as a no.
My hand's not supposed to be up.
Okay, all right. So Pam Delabar is a lone no vote. Rachel, can you tell me I didn't count the yes votes.
The number?
Yeah. I read the names in the record. I just need to know the number.
16 yes, 1 no.
Okay. All right. So the amended program guidelines for the CITCC are approved. Congratulations, Lorna. Pam, did you have your hand up still to chat?
Yes, for a comment, Daryl.
Okay, sure.
Now that the guidelines have been passed, part of the guidelines was time frame. And I am still concerned about the platform we're expected to run this on without any guidelines on the platform. When the platform is still being tested by NEMO.
Okay.
That's my objection.
Okay, that's fine. My suggestion is that you get with Lorna and Desiree Bobby and hopefully those, I think they can run 5 concurrent shows at one time, and when the show gets finished, they can add 1 in. So Rachel, you're recognized.
I was going to make the next motion. Are we ready for that?
Yes.
To approve the budget items for the CITCC are QVS. The 4 items are there. I think the 2 previous things to this about polling the judges and to review the report are not items that need to be voted on. But to approve the budget would need a vote. So that is my motion.
Okay, is there a second?
Carol seconds.
Okay, Rachel Langer has made the motion. Carol Krasnowski has made the second. Rachel, would you like to enter debate since you made the motion? You're first up.
Thank you. I think we have debated a bit of this already, so I'll defer to Lorna if she wants to, through the chair, if she wants to bring up any additional items.
I have no other additional items. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Lorna. Okay. Carol, do you have any comments to make? You were the seconder.
No, I don't have any, thank you.
Okay, any other board members have any discussion on approving the budget for the CITCC/RQVS? Kathy Calhoun, you're recognized.
So part of the budget is a donation of profits to a charitable organization. So I wanted to call that out to the attention of the board to make sure that is, as we vote, that we take that into consideration. And do we need to name the charitable organization? At this time.
Are you making a motion?
No, I'm not making a motion.
Okay.
Whether or not, I just want to make sure. I guess my first question is, do we need to determine at this point in time if in fact we are going to donate profits from the CITCC to a charitable organization? And maybe what we need, would like to find out is if the board's in favor of that, so I can make a motion. And then we need to name the charitable organization. So is that the appropriate way to do it, Daryl?
Well, let's get a couple more comments, and because we really can't discuss items without a motion. So Rich and Steve want to make a comment. We'll move after that. Okay.
Okay.
Rich, you're recognized.
Yeah, item number 38 in the guidelines already calls out the donated organization. It does state the shares will be determined by the executive committee of the CFA executive board. I'm sorry, the share. So it's already called out in there. I'm not sure if Kathy wants to specifically call it out in the budget or what she's asking, because we already approved the guidelines. If there are profits, we've already agreed to make the donation to the Wynn Feline Foundation.
Okay. Steve McCullough, you're recognized.
I was going to bring that up too.
Okay.
And in other places, it says that there will be donations to be determined at a later time.
Okay.
How will we determine that? It's not determined. It's not spelled out in here what percentage is going to whom.
All right. So if we're going to debate this, we need a motion. Somebody needs to make some kind of a motion here. If not, we can ask Lorna to address it and bring it to the October meeting, since some of this is going to be happening after some of the regional stuff is going to be going on. But the big event is not until October, after our October board meeting.
Daryl?
Yes?
I'm sorry, let me raise my hand.
Yeah. Let me recognize Carol. She had her hand up. Carol, you can.
Yes, I kind of overlooked that one part of the guidelines where it says it named the charitable organization. In light of all the disasters that have hit our country recently, I would kind of like to see a donation to the breeder assistance and disaster relief people instead. I think they're far more in need of something at this time.
Okay. Rachel, you're recognized.
Sorry. Well, can Eileen scroll back down? That particular provision talks about it being approved by the executive board, or sorry, by the executive committee. So, and this was in the previous proposal that we have now approved twice. So I think we've already covered it, actually. The executive committee can make that determination, and I would wholly support it. Thank you.
Okay, Kathy Calhoun, I don't see your hand up now.
No, I lowered my hand.
Okay, Lorna, you're recognized.
Yes, the reason we felt the Win Feline Foundation was a good cause overall to millennials who may just first be hearing about CFA and its offerings is that it's for the good of all cats, not just breeders, because that kind of is a dirty word in pop culture. But I'm happy to defer to the board.
Okay, Carol Kosnowski, you're recognized.
I'm sorry, I didn't want to raise my hand, sorry.
Okay, all right. All right, I thought it. Lorna, would you consider maybe splitting the profits between WIN and disaster relief?
Absolutely. And the regions may also opt to do whatever they'd like with their donations as well.
Okay, all right. Okay, so we approved the budget already, and we were just chatting there. So you have anything else to add, Lorna, before we move on to the next order of the day?
I do not. Thank you all for your help.
All right, thank you very much. We appreciate your time and effort. You've done a great job. We appreciate it. Okay.
Thank you.
Did we
okay.
approve the budget?
Yeah, we approved it. Did we approve it?
I don't think we did.
Oh, we didn't? Okay, well, okay. I thought we did because I was getting ready to move on when Kathy brought that up. So, all right, so let's vote on the budget. Is there any objection to approval of the budget that's been presented to the Board of Directors in this report? Okay, I hear no objection. So the budget for the CITCC/RQVS stands approved as presented. So we'll go to the next order of the day. Number 5 has been moved to executive session. Number 6 is this Finance Committee report. Rich Maston, that's you.
Thank you, Darrell. There's no action item here. It's just notification to the board and the CFA public what we're doing with the show sponsorship requests as they come in. Due to the number of cancellations from the tail end of last year and the beginning of this year, we need to make some changes in how we're making the approvals on the request. So going forward, we're going to need to make sure that the clubs requesting sponsorship, that these events can be held in their areas. That's one from a occupancy standpoint. And the other is things that are happening overseas into your international division. We need to make sure that we have government approvals to hold these events. Currently, we have 4 shows that are pending approval because we don't even know that they're approved to be held. Nothing to do with COVID. This is a government situation. So with that, with the confirmation of the approvals for COVID related and for government approvals, we're going to hold on approving any request until we're 45 days out from show date up to 7 days out from the show date.
Okay.
We used to approve them as soon as they came in up to 30 days. Now we're going to take it up to 7 days. Anything that comes in 6 days or less, we're likely going to deny and may have to bring it back to the board.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you very much, Rich. Appreciate that.
Okay.
Anything else? Okay, we'll move to item 7, Legal Advisory Committee. Cindy Bird, that's you.
You can see here that we're looking at placing some disclaimers on our show applications, licenses, entry applications rather, licenses, and then having a disclaimer that all entrants to the show hall must sign as they enter to encourage their good behavior in our troubling times.
Okay. You want to scroll up, Eileen, so we can see the proposal?
There are 3 there.
Okay. Let's take them one at a time. Let's do number 1. So Cindy, you're making the motion. I need a second.
Rich will
Steve.
suck.
Okay, Rich Maston has seconded. Number 1, approve the disclaimer for show license applications. Cindy, you have any other comment you want to make?
No, thank you.
Okay, Pam Delavar, you're recognized.
This doesn't state that it's by, sorry, it's 4 o'clock. This does not state that it's approved by the local national entity. It's only for local, state, and federal. And this does not cover anybody outside the US.
Would we have an amendment?
You can, anybody can make, you've made the motion to accept this, and so you can make an amendment to it. Or Pam Delavar can make the amendment.
Actually, Cindy and I have sort of gone online on this before, so she's got an amendment.
By Pam's suggestion online, perhaps we want to add national. So it would read all local, state, federal, and national. Does that make it, Pam? Does that work?
That should do it.
Okay. All right, so Pam, are you seconding Cindy's amendment?
Of course.
Okay, is there any further discussion on the amendment to put a comma after state, move and to after federal, and insert the word national? Kathy Calhoun, you're recognized.
I just wondered, should it read the same in number 1 and number 2? Number 2, it says governmental. I don't know if the difference makes a difference.
Well, we need to get to that motion before we amend it.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So any further discussion? Is there any objection to the amendment? Okay, so the amendment is ratified. Now we need to vote on the amended motion, which does the same thing that the amendment says. So we've already discussed it. So is there any objection to the amended original motion? So hearing no objection, the amended motion is ratified. So we'll move to number 2. And well,
So with that,
it says abide by all governmental, federal, state, local. By saying all governmental, wouldn't that include national, Pam? Does that satisfy you? You're recognized?
Yeah, yes, that works.
Okay. So we don't need to amend number 2.
No.
Daryl,
Okay.
I would like to amend it so that it
Okay.
matches number 1.
Okay.
The amendment would be to abide by all national, federal, state, local, CFA.
Okay. Thank you, Cindy.
I'll second the amendment.
Okay, and George seconds the amendment. Okay, well, we actually didn't make, we didn't pass a motion to accept this. So let's do that and then we'll do the amendment. So Cindy, I know you're gonna move to accept this.
Yes.
And Pam Delabar spoke, so we'll take her as the second. Okay, so now we have an amendment that George and Cindy have made. So any discussion on the amendment? Rich Maston, you're recognized.
Yeah, it's just a correction. We need to drop the comma between CFA and COVID.
Agreed.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so that's a secondary amendment. We'll just include it in the first one. There's no point in voting on taking a comma out. So Kathy Calhoun, you're recognized.
So the only, given that, in some places, COVID-19 is capitalized -19. Should it be that way through the whole entire document? I don't know if the difference makes a difference.
I think it makes a difference.
Well, it should be capitalized, shouldn't it?
Yep.
Okay. So OVID will be kept.
And a dash.
Yes, and a dash between the D and the 1. Okay. All right. Is there any objection to the amendment? Okay, hearing no objection, the number 2 has been amended and the amendment's been ratified. So now we'll vote on the main amended motion, and that is to accept this main motion. So is there any further discussion on number 2? Okay, is there any objection to accepting number 2 in its amended state? Pam Mosier, you're recognized.
Yeah, I was just a question. I know it says show entry application form. Is there anywhere in here that says something that should be on the show flyer? Did I miss that? I looked and I don't think I saw that. And should that be added somewhere?
Cindy Bird, you want to comment on that?
I think that's a great idea.
Okay, let's make that item number 4.
Okay.
It wasn't pre-noticed, so it'll take 2/3 vote. All right, so hearing no objection to number 2 in its amended state is therefore ratified. Let's go to number 3. Cindy, you're recognized.
Yes, this one is for all people who enter the show hall. That would include judges, exhibitors, stewards, the guy who brings lunch, any gate, if we can ever have any again.
Okay. All right, I
And
need a
once again,
second.
we need-
Okay.
Sorry, Jerry. Once again, we need to make sure that all of the COVID-19s are consistent.
Yeah, okay. George Eichen, who seconded it?
Rich.
Rich Maston is the second for item number 3. Okay, Rich, you want to continue?
Well, I just wanted to comment that what Cindy said, the wording in the first 2 have to be the same, and the third one with national.
Okay.
Drop the comma, the COVID. That's all.
Good deal. Okay, thank you. Let's see, Pam Mosier, you're recognized.
Yes, I have a concern in here where it says a valid written exception. You know, to me, that's just like, you know, when you go on the airlines and you have a written exception to have your cat with you as a, you know, a therapy animal, that anybody can get that. So I'm just afraid that people are going to be coming to the show with all of them, with all their little written exceptions from their doctor saying, you know, I can't wear a mask. And that there kind of bothers me a little bit.
Okay. All right. Pam Delabar, you're recognized.
Thank you. I had also contacted Cindy about adding the word after face mask dash face shield. The face shields are being used a lot in Europe. And Cindy's remarks were that, well, the CDC does not recommend face shields. Well, the CDC does not cover Europe. I would like to have face shield put in after that. Otherwise, there's going to be a lot of people who have broken this rule.
Okay. Which is this on failure to wear a face mask at all times? Is that where you're wanting to insert it? It follows a couple of times. You want to add /face shield after each instance of face mask. Is that your
Correct.
amendment? Okay.
Correct.
Is there a second to that amendment?
George will second that.
Okay, thank you, George. Let's see, George, you're recognized.
Yeah, and I understand, I think it was Pam Moser, that expressed concerns about people with their phony doctor's notes. And I got to tell you, we're just stuck with it.
Yeah, George, we're talking about the amendment now. Okay, and that's just about /shield. Okay. We can talk about the other stuff after we get this amendment taken care of. Rachel Anger, you're recognized.
Thank you. Personally, I would support that. However, here in the United States, I don't see anyone wearing a face shield. It's not something that are, at least in the state of Michigan, that we're required to use. And Michigan is one of the strictest states in the nation. Thank you, Governor Granholm.
Okay.
So I think if we do that, then no one will attend the show. So although, like I say, I support it myself personally, but until our local, state, federal, national governments require a face shield, I think that that is going to be a little too much.
Well, I think if we put /face shield, it means either or.
I disagree.
Okay. All right. Would you like it to say face mask or face shield?
I would be fine with that. As I say, I personally would support that.
Okay, Pam, Cindy?
I have no problem with that.
Okay, instead of /face shield, we'll put face mask or face shield. Okay, Rich Maston, you're recognized.
Yeah, so what Rachel was saying is not all states allow face masks or face shields. They require face masks. So in order to include face shields, you may want to write it so that it's as permitted by governmental authority. Otherwise, if it's not permitted, they're not supposed to be in attendance in a public setting if they don't have a face mask on.
Okay, George Eigenhauser, you're recognized. George?
Sorry, I didn't realize I was still muted. Just prattling on. Yeah, I agree with Rich. If we want to differentiate face shields were allowed by law, then just say face shields were allowed by law.
Okay. So Cindy, is there language from the CDC that we could replace face mask with? Failure to wear appropriate protective, whatever the next word would be.
Face covering.
Face covering, as directed by local authorities /CDC guidelines. Would that work?
I think we could come up with some language for that.
Okay.
One of my concerns that I shared with Pam is that at least in our area, when someone shows up with a face shield rather than a face mask, they're confronted, and people have been rude in saying that that is not appropriate protection. So my thought was for the show committee, that if you state face mask, then there's no argument about whether, one or the other is fine. But I think if we come up with language such as face coverings as required by national, federal, blah, 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 then we're fine.
Okay, Pam Delabar, are you happy with that?
No, I like Cindy's last word that she came up with.
Okay, all right. Shelley Perkins, you're recognized.
I just wanted, I was sort of done, Daryl.
Okay.
In Oregon anyway, we're allowed to wear face shields. And so I like the words face covering, because the other thing though is I don't feel like it's the job of the CFA to put bigger restrictions than are required by the government. And so I felt like when you say you agree to wear a face mask, but if the government has lifted that restriction, then the CFA is taking a position that exceeds what perhaps the government is requiring. I would just like it to say something like you agree to wear face coverings in accordance with and then use those words that we had before: governmental, federal, state, local, and whatever that we're trying to say the law is, at all times, and failure to abide by this at all times or provide the written exception will mean that you have to voluntarily vacate. So I think there's a way to get it and only state it once, but say that you just have to wear what is required by law.
Thank you, Shelley, for your legal opinion on that. Rachel Anchor, you're recognized.
Thank you. Yeah, I think we're getting pretty far in the weeds here, and we're not getting close to coming up with language, nor will we. So, and this one, because we don't have any shows that I'm aware of before the next meeting, can we bring this back at the next meeting?
Sure. You okay with that, Cindy? We'll make it a special order for the October board meeting, number 3.
Yes, perfect.
Okay, Rachel, you'll make a note that will be a special order of business, item number 3 of this report. Now we need to go to number 4, and this is has to deal with notification on the show announcements. So Cindy, do you have some wording for that, or do you want to also include that as an additional item for October?
I would suggest that since this is on the flyer, that we use the same language that we have in, oops, I can't see number 1 anymore. Number 1.
Okay. All right, Pam, I'll see Melanie Morgan, you're recognized.
Yeah, since we're going to be bringing this back up, and Cindy, you're looking at it, just to add a comment and see if anyone else has the same concerns I do about the statement that they will wear these face coverings at all times. Most of the waivers that I've seen for like airlines, et cetera, basically have some sort of language that addresses the fact that you take it off if you're, say, taking a drink or something like that. And then from a judging standpoint, having watched some of the videos of some of the shows that have happened, there are instances where it's only the judge in the ring and a specific cat has an issue. And I've seen the judges take off their mask. Based off of this waiver, they'd be in violation of it and would be subject to being expelled from the show hall. Does anyone else have similar concerns about that language, or am I just nitpicking a bit on that?
Melanie, how about you get with Cindy and you guys work out the wording on it for October?
Okay.
Alrighty. Pam Delavar, you're recognized.
I was just going to go along with Melanie. The FIFA show that was held last weekend, the exhibitors wore the face coverings and the judges had separate judging areas, and the judges did not wear face coverings. And
so they were socially distanced?
The Finns socially distance anyway. That's their nature, but yes.
Okay, all right.
Not right now.
Okay.
Not right now.
George Eigenhauser, you're recognized.
Yeah, I have a problem with trying to exempt the judges from the face mask requirements. No matter how much they socially distance from the exhibitors, they're not socially distancing from the cats. Their spittle and germs and everything else are getting on every cat they breathe on. And then the exhibitor is picking up that cat and taking it back to their benching area without that cat ever having been disinfected. This isn't just about breathing on each other. This is also about breathing on surfaces that can carry the contagion to others. And the judges are going to be very close to the cats. I mean, if a judge has a problem and they have to take their mask off because a cat's being unruly and they have to chase it under the table or something, I don't have a problem with that. But this notion that judges only spread the disease by breathing on exhibitors, they also spread the disease by breathing on the cat.
Okay, thank you, George. Rich Maston, you're recognized.
Yeah, I appreciate all the comments that we're getting on motion number 3 there to get it right for October. But I believe Cindy's motion was for number 4, the show flyer disclaimer is to match number 1. And I will second that motion if that is her motion.
Okay. All right, we want to go ahead and do that, Cindy?
I think so.
Okay, so we have a motion to include the language in number 1 to be included on show flyers, effective immediately.
Yes.
Rich? Shelley?
Yes.
Shelley Perkins?
I thought that the request was to have number 2 be on the show flyer. But if it's number 1, that's fine. I just thought that was the request from my memory.
Thank you. I think she might be right there. Because that is talking about them entering and obeying all the laws and everything. The number 1 is the club is affirming that they will follow the rules. Number 2 is the entry application form. So I think Shelley's correct. It should be the verbiage from number 2 will be on the flyer. Cindy?
I think with one little change, by submitting an entry, then that would work just fine.
Say it again.
So reading number 2, by submitting an entry, we agree to abide by. Blah,
Okay,
blah, blah.
all right. Carol Krasnowski, you're recognized.
Yes, I was just going to suggest that Cindy bring this back for October, since we're debating about whether 1 or number 2 should be on the show flyer. Wouldn't it be better to just bring it back for October? We don't have any shows coming up in the immediate future, and I'd rather see the definite wording before I vote on it.
Okay, well, Cindy and Rich have made the motion, and we've now determined that it's number 2 that's going to be placed on there, because that's the entry application. So that's where it needs to be. Rachel Anger, you're recognized.
Thank you. I think I agree that both number 1 and number 2 should be there. And I also agree that it would be better, we'd be better served if it was taken offline and worded and the exact wording be brought back.
Rich, you and Cindy want to withdraw the motion? We'll talk about it in October.
I have a concern that we have a flyer out already, because Cotton States is getting ready to put their show on. I'm not sure the flyer's out last time I looked.
All right. That's a valid concern. Okay. Well, Steve McCauley, you're recognized.
I have the same concern that Becky Galloway's getting ready to put her show flyer out as well.
Okay, all right. So we need to take care of it, so.
Yes.
Okay, is there any, Kenny Curley, you are recognized.
Yeah, what was mentioned, Cotton State does have a flyer out and up and running, and there are other clubs that are planning on shows. So yeah, let's take care of this tonight.
Okay, so the motion is Cindy changed one of the words by submitting this entry, the verbiage in number 2 be added to show flyers. So I think we've exhausted the debate. Is there any objection to including the verbiage from number 2 amended by Cindy on show flyers? Okay, seeing no objection, hearing no objection, the motion item number 4, which will include the verbiage in number 2 as amended, will be included on all show flyers. That motion is ratified. Okay, Cindy, you have anything else for legal?
That's all for open session. Thank you.
Okay, and let's see, it's 6:30, so I'm cognizant of people's bladders. So let's finish the last item under our first heading of reports of officers, boards, and standing committees, and then we'll take a 5-minute break. So Carol Krasnowski, you're next with the clerking program.
Yes, and I'll be brief. This was just basically an update. The first online clerking school was held on the weekend of August 22nd and 23rd, and there was great participation in that. It went fairly well. It was done on the Zoom platform. There were a few little glitches, but as we've discovered with Zoom, we are learning as we go along. But it was very successful overall, and the hopes in the future are that we can continue to make this online clerking school platform available to people so that they can either become licensed clerks or expand their education and keep learning.
Okay, thank you. Pam Delabar, you're recognized.
Carol, could you please take back? I've got 3 master clerk instructors in Region 9, and they would like to get a hold of this online test to be able to teach within our areas. Can you take that back to Dan and see if they can't
Sure.
be given this?
Could you send me their names, email their names to me, and I'll make sure that.
Sure, will do. Will do.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Kathy Calhoun, you're recognized.
I just had a question about the last sentence under current happenings, which refers to providing resources, both electronic and personnel for every individual to advance. Is that a reference to just Zoom, or is there an additional expense there? I think, Carol, you on mute?
Oh, sorry. I don't think there's any additional expense. I think it's just ironing out the kinks with the Zoom platform and making sure that everything's running smoothly. There should not be any additional expense involved in that.
Great. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Carol. I appreciate your input on that one. Okay, is there any objection to taking a 5-minute break?
Thank you, Daryl.
Okay, sure. Aline, will you pause the recording for 5, and we'll come back in 5 minutes. Recording again, please. Thank you very much. Okay. Next on the agenda is the reports of special selector ad hoc committees. And number 9 is a special show format request by Kathy Dunham.
Thank you.
Thanks.
This has come up with 4 of the clubs in the Midwest region, and they were specifically working on a format that would allow them to hold a show and abide by all of the local, state, and federal guidelines. This is a hybrid of a document that was produced by the old COVID committee, and they are looking for approval to do this. So the motion would be to approve this particular format. There are a couple of caveats now. Attachment number 1 would be moot, assuming that language comes back in October. That would give us specific waiver language to be signed by exhibitors and judges and other staff for the event. If that language does not come through, then they would like to pursue something similar to what's in attachment 1 so that they have some ability to control the situation within the show hall. The format in attachment number 2 for the layout of the show hall is just an example. Obviously, some of that may change depending on the number of entries they get, and obviously this is not to scale. It is just a representation of what would happen. The tables that they would be opting to use would be a minimum of a 6-foot table, hopefully 8-foot tables, with the entry being at one end of the table, leaving space between for the rest of the table to be used as technically the judging table. So it is a modified bay style judging. They would provide social distance seating around the show hall, and when your category is being judged, they would ask you to ask the exhibitors to leave that particular area while judging is going on. And then once judging has taken place by a particular judge, then the exhibitor may return to their entry to take care of any grooming issues or other needs of the exhibit. There's also space there for the judges to have as a working area. There would technically be no rings set up. That would eliminate some extra disinfecting that would need to be done, eliminate some personnel. We wouldn't have stewards, and we would not be hanging flats per se. That documentation would be done and posted so that exhibitors could go see what a judge gave their particular entry. So this is a format that is new, and the club is going to work very hard to promote it. And the clubs, if it is accepted, and they are in the process of doing a video that would explain it, that would be part of their advertising, so that exhibitors that are entering the show would absolutely know what they are entering, the type of format that will be used, so that there are no unexpected expectations. As we go through this, if there are any questions, let me know.
Okay, Rachel Langer, you're recognized.
I'd like to move that this proposal be adopted as presented.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay. And I'm just looking at the show rules real quickly here. Are we violating any show rules by not hanging any ribbons on the cages?
Daryl, I don't believe we are. It would be an exception to the show rule with this format, and that was one of the things that was part of that document that was proposed by the COVID committee that could be set aside, was not actually hanging flats. Okay. So if we need to do that as a separate motion, we can certainly do that.
Okay. George Eigenhauser, you're recognized.
My one concern is the mention of a food truck being available. I don't even know why we need that in there. Some show halls don't allow outside food. They don't allow, food trucks. They require you buy from their concession stand. So putting that in there automatically eliminates a lot of show halls, and it's just unnecessary. We don't need to talk about food.
It's just something for that particular set of clubs. If this is something that other clubs want to adopt, I have no problem with taking that out.
Okay, Carol Krasnowski, you're recognized.
Yes. Could we just consider this an experimental format and approve it on that basis alone? We've done that in the past with different types of format changes.
Well, they've got it listed, Carol, they've got it listed as a special show format. Experimental special, to me, implies pretty much the same thing.
So it wouldn't really be a violation of any show rules because it's an experimental.
Okay, all right, that answers that question. Rachel Langer, you're recognized.
Yep, I think that this group is very forward thinking. And, there's a couple select groups of clubs across the nation that could do this. And this is one that I have every confidence can pull it off and actually lead the way on how we can start having shows. And I think this was originally presented as a experimental format, and for some reason the experimental format committee said it wasn't. So the spirit of this is as experimental.
Okay.
Yes, I did present this to Sharon Roy before I gave it to, or as I was giving it to Rachel for the agenda. And Sharon came back and said that she did not feel that this needed to go through her committee, that it was just a special format for these times under COVID. But Sharon can certainly speak to it if she has a different opinion now.
Okay, Melanie Morgan, you're recognized.
Yeah, as the person who put together the first initial document through the COVID committee, this suggestion by this group of clubs is directly in line with the kind of thinking that we were looking for. I think we need to be supportive of our clubs in whatever creative solution that they come up with for their specific area, because there are different requirements in different areas. But it all comes under, in my mind, the exception that we give through experimental format. So we're not in any sense of the word violating show rules. We're simply putting them aside in these different times so that we're giving clubs the flexibility and ability to come up with solutions that work for their area. And I think we need to support this kind of thinking. And clearly this club and this group of clubs has done a really nice job of thinking through some of the process. And we need to be flexible.
Good. Thank you, Melanie. That's good comments. Sharon Roy, you're recognized. If you're talking, you're muted.
Sorry, I didn't unmute. I didn't really think it needed to go through that committee because it was very well thought out. And we're going to have to make exceptions going forward, at least for the next year or so. So she had it really well planned.
Good deal. Thank you. Rachel Enger, you're recognized.
Thank you. This incorporates some of the best practices as well as Melanie's suggested format. So we had a whole committee that came up with these suggestions. Finally, we have a group that's taking us up on it. Let's vote.
Okay. Any further comments? Is there any objection to the proposal as presented? No objections? Okay, hearing no objections, the motion is ratified as presented. Okay, next, you're very welcome. Good luck to the club, okay, or clubs. Pam Delabar, you're next. COVID-19 rates per country.
I gave this to the board just
Pam, you're not coming through.
as a point of reference. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, I just provided this as a source of 9 clubs to see where we're doing, who's green, who's orange, who's red, as far as movement within my region. So using that just as a little bit of reference, I'd like to go into the show rule waivers, if we could do so.
Okay, that's fine, but what does 214.9 in the USA mean?
It means that, oh, I thought it was stated on top there. I'm sorry. That means that per 100,000 population,
okay,
214.9 COVID cases per 100,000 population.
Okay. Thank you. That was not stated in the thing.
I'm sorry. I must have left that off.
Okay.
As you can see on Region 9, I have 5 countries there that had free travel without quarantine. Lithuania has picked up, so it's sort of dropped off of that. But otherwise, there's travel with Finland, Estonia, Latvia, and Italy at this point in time.
Okay.
Okay, if we could go to the show rule waivers.
Okay.
I said I've been tracking how we're going and who's doing what to whom on COVID, and I thought that possibly we could look at this for other areas as well. And I did make one error here. I said, whereas Canada has 1 CFA judge, Canada has 2 CFA judges. And 1 Australian judge. My first action item was due to extensive travel restrictions around the globe, effective immediately and through the remainder of the 2020-21 show season, waive the requirements stated in show rule 3.13 and allow CFA clubs to contract up to 50% guest judges per show. To give you an example of the areas where there's free travel within Region 9, there's 1 CFA judge. If we could have one guest judge. That would be 50% guest judges for that free area. And we would be able to hold a 2-ring show.
Okay.
Germany has one CFA judge. It follows suit. We found with Thailand, where we have 2 CFA judges, if one gets ill, then they are replaced by a guest judge. If both CFA judges can officiate, then they could possibly have a 4-ring show. This, again, would just be a waiver, and only if the club desires to do so.
And for this show season, effective immediately.
Correct.
George will
Okay.
second Pam's motion.
Thank you, George Eigenhauser, for seconding Pam's action item. Okay, Steve McCauley, you're recognized.
Is this for Region 9 only or for all of CFA?
All of CFA.
And I have a problem with it.
Okay. You want to state your issue?
Yes, if we have a 12-ring show, I don't think half of them should be TICA judges and half of them should be CFA judges. I think it should be 8 CFA judges and 2 TICA judges or 4 TICA judges.
Steve, it reads, allow to contract up to 50%.
Right, 12 rings, 6 would be other judges, 6 would be CFA. There's no ring limit on this.
You still have to get your guest judges approved.
What Steve is saying, I think, Pam, is that here in the States, if we pass this the way it's written, then the regions 1 through 7 could invite 50% guest judges also.
Correct.
And that's true.
Okay.
That was
Pam Mosier, you're recognized.
Yes, I object to this too. I mean, 50%, I mean, you're going to have, like Steve is saying, that you're going to have half your judges. I know Pam's saying you don't have to do this, but they're going to do this. So this is just another way to get the TICA judges into the show hall, and I absolutely object to this.
Okay, Melanie Morgan, you're recognized.
I agree with Steve about the regions 1 through 7. I can support this for a region like Region 9, where they're limited in the number of CFA judges there. But in regions 1 through 7, we have quite a number of options. Can't support this as submitted.
Can't either.
Okay, I don't see anybody's hands up. Pam, would you consider exempting regions 1 through 7 from your action item?
Yes, I would.
Okay.
But I want it open for all of the other areas that do not have the concentration of CFA judges as regions 1 through 7 do.
Okay, and are you making that an amendment?
Yes, sir, I am.
And
the second.
Okay, George Eigenhauser seconds. Is there any discussion on the amendment, which basically excludes region 1 through 7 in this proposal? So it would apply to regions 8 and 9 and ID China and the ID International. Any discussion on that? Okay, somebody just raised their hand. Kenny Curley.
And you need to add AWACSA, sorry.
I said ID China and ID International, which covers that. Okay, yes, Kenny?
No, that's it. Sorry.
Okay, all right. Okay, hearing no objections to the amendment is ratified. So let's vote on the action item now. The amended action item is as stated, with the following amendment that regions 1 through 7 are excluded. All right, any other discussion? All right, seeing no one raise their hands, is there any objection to the amended motion? Hearing no objections, the amended motion is ratified. Pam, you want to move on to your next action item?
Thank you, Pam.
Yes. Thank you, Steve. Move the following effective immediately and for the remainder of the 2020-2021 show season. Clubs hosting shows of 1 to 4 rings and entries not exceeding 150 will be charged the show license fee of $50 US plus the applicable insurance and club fees.
George will second again.
Okay, thank you, George. Pam, you're up for debate.
That's just basically stated. We have come in several times in the past for 2 ring shows and 3 ring shows asking a reduced show license. This is just sort of putting it out there for right now so we don't have to keep coming back in for those exceptions.
Great,
Which
thank
have
you
always
very
been
much.
approved, by the way.
Okay, George Eigenhauser, you're recognized.
Yeah, we've been talking about ways to help clubs in this time of COVID reality. And that's going to push people to have smaller shows because they're not going to be able to fit as many people in a room. There are going to be restrictions, yada, yada, yada. We're giving clubs up to $500 a pop to put on shows. This is only $50 compared to the other money that we give clubs. This is actually a very small pittance. But every little bit helps. And when we have clubs out there trying to put on shows, being forced to put on smaller shows because of conditions, I can't see being stingy at this point.
Great, thank
and
you.
voting on this.
Thank you, George. Kathy Calhoun, you're recognized.
But one question and one comment. This applies to all regions and areas, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And I just wondered with the wording, it says, and entries not exceeding 150, should it say show limit? So my question would be, if a show said they were going to get 225 cats and they got 125, this is not retroactive. It's the limit. Correct?
I see what you're saying.
Yes.
So you're saying it should be on the show flyer that the entry limit will be
The entry
150.
limit. The entry limit should not exceed 150.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Yep. Rachel Anger, did you have a comment?
I just lowered my hand, but I think the amount George stated is incorrect. I think we give them the full $1,000 now.
Yeah, that's correct.
All clubs get full $1,000 now. The full $1,000 now. Sorry.
Yeah.
The clubs will apply.
Okay, is there any further debate on this?
Just one thing I want you to know, Daryl. Right now, the exchange rate for US dollar to the euro, what we're looking at, it takes $1.18 to make 1 euro. The dollar has devalued over here in Europe.
Okay.
So the clubs are not really getting that much money from sponsorship as they used to.
Okay. Thanks for that information, Pam. Okay, seeing nobody else's hands up, is there any objection to Pam's second action item here? Okay, hearing no objection, the motion is ratified as stated in the motion on the screen here.
Thank
Okay,
you,
so
colleague.
yep. So that concludes the reports of special committees. We'll move on to unfinished business and general orders. Any unfinished business that needs to be brought up? So Aline brought to my attention, and I'll bring this to the board's attention, our November teleconference meeting is on Election Day here in the United States. So I think maybe somebody from the East Coast can tell me what time the polls close. I think, Sharon, don't you work at a poll on Election Day? Is that going to be an issue for you?
Hello. Whoops, wait a minute. I'm gonna get it back here. Okay. Yes, it is, because if I work at the polls on Election Day in this type of election, I probably won't be home till after midnight.
Okay. All right. Is there anyone else on the list here that will be inconvenienced? think most of us on the West Coast are going to be voting by mail anyway, because most of us are getting mail ballots. Is there anyone else? I hate to change the meeting because just one person is going to be inconvenienced. And
I don't think it would be a good time to have a meeting.
Who was that? You need to identify yourself. And
Howard Webster.
Please raise your hand, Howard, so I can call on you so that we can get it in the minutes who's speaking. Okay, so you object to having the meeting on election day?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So Pam Mosier, you're recognized. Pam Mosier.
Sorry,
Right.
I forgot to take myself off mute. Sorry about that. Yeah, I don't think that's a good day to have a meeting either.
Okay.
I wish we wouldn't have it on that day.
All right, that's fine. Brian Mosier, you're recognized.
I think some of us like to follow the results, and I think we should be able to move it to another date where it's more convenient for everybody.
Okay, George Eigenhauser, you're recognized.
I agree with the previous speakers. I would rather move it off election day.
Okay, would you like to move it? Somebody want to make a motion that we move it to the second Tuesday of November?
I'll move. George.
Okay, George Eigenhauser moves that we move the November meeting to the second weekend.
Kenny seconds.
Kenny Curley, was that who seconded?
Yes, second.
Thank you, Kenny. Is there any discussion on moving the November teleconference board meeting scheduled at 5 o'clock my time, 8 o'clock on the East Coast, to the second Tuesday in November? And Rachel, do you have access to a calendar to see what date that is?
November 10th, it's Veterans Day Eve.
Okay. All right, so November the 10th, Veterans Day Eve. Any discussion? Okay, so Aline, you can make notation of that on the timetable for the board meetings. And is there any objection to the moving of the November date to the second weekend? So hearing no objection, that motion is ratified.
Daryl,
yes.
you said second weekend, you meant second Tuesday.
Yeah, second Tuesday. Thank you, George. I'm sorry. Okay. All right. Any other old business, any unfinished business, any new business? No one? So this is a little bit better than last month. It's 10 o'clock on the East Coast time. So, okay, hearing no business, I will adjourn the meeting. And
Daryl, my hand's up.
Whose hand? Okay, Kathy, go ahead.
Yes, I just wanted to just kind of get a feel from the board real quick. One of the things that, because of the COVID, that we've missed out on is that face-to-face, you know, being able to be in the same space. And I thought that maybe as a team building event that we could have, and maybe something like a Zoom cocktail hour or a Zoom dinner where we really don't talk about anything, particularly, you know, things to vote on, motions, those sorts of things. We just kind of talk as a group about, you know, what's going on in your life, how are you feeling, those sorts of things. Just sort of
Okay.
how you discuss over dinner.
Great. Sounds like a great idea. Would you mind exploring that, Kathy, and trying to come up with a date and then present it to the online board list?
And it'd be completely optional.
Okay.
Okay.
Great deal. Thank you, Kathy. That's a nice deal. Steve, you're recognized.
I just want to thank everybody for contributing to the Disaster Relief Fund for all my people down here in Louisiana and Texas. We've really appreciated it so far, and they've got a long road ahead of them.
Yeah.
So keep on donating. We appreciate it.
Yeah, I haven't put my check in the mail, but I've got Cindy Bird's address, so I will do that tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
Yep, Rich Maston, you're recognized.
Yeah, thank you, Daryl. It was presented to me by a board member that we consider canceling the 2021 CFA calendar and move it to 2022 because of the no or very limited shows and no CFA events. I did some research on the commitment to the printer. There is no expenses because we did not submit the final proof for them to produce a proof. So there will be no fees from the printer, but we do have some production costs because we did finalize it with the individual that put the calendar together. So I'm just presenting it to the board. I did touch base with Karen Lane and Teresa Kiger and let them know that this was presented to me and want to know how they felt. And Karen got back to me and said she wants to do what's right by CFA, and whatever the board decides is acceptable to her and her team.
Are you making that a motion?
Sure. I will make the motion that we cancel the 2021 calendar.
Steve, second.
Okay. Rachel, you're recognized.
Thank you. I was confused there for a minute because I thought you were talking about the CFA show calendar or something. So you're referring to the calendar that the ambassador program produces.
Yes, Rachel, I'm sorry. Yes.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Any other discussion? Okay, is there any objection to the canceling of the 2021, moving it to the 21-22 calendar? Okay, hearing no objection, the motion is ratified as presented. Any other business? Nope. Okay, so we'll sign out of the webinar and sign right back in, and we'll cover our executive session items. Aline, can you confirm with me the 3 non-board members have submitted their confidentiality agreements?
The only one I've received so far is from Ava Chen.
Okay. Gavin, you and Matt need to sign that form and send it to Aline before we could admit you to the closed session stuff.
Aline, I just email you. I just email you, Aline.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Matt.
All right.
Okay.
Matt,
I do
I'll
have
try
it.
to print
Yep.
it out.
Oh,
I'll try to
okay.
print it out and send it.
All right. I'll
Okay.
send you the link.